Alexander Rommel is a German artist who's a digital artist. He works in digital forms, he paints the elements and creates fantastical scenes and images around themes of solarpunk, the future, different landscapes, and different political issues. So I had him on to have a chat with me. This is New Intrigue, and I'm your host, Joshua Crook. Well, I wanted to start by saying thanks for joining me and thanks for being here. Uh, let's begin by exploring what inspired you to get into art in the first place.
I started to paint as a kid, as most painters maybe, and were like doodling at school and do different topics like trees and graffiti stuff. And as a more smaller kid, like at the age of 7, I got to an art school for children, but only for for a couple of years.
Where do you get your ideas from?
It's mostly from nature, so I like to explore nature, go out, and it came mostly, I think it came from going fishing because I like to go fishing and there is all the nature around, all the creatures, so it's fish or it's insects or it's just the water and the nice sceneries, which are very beautiful to see, and I try to recreate them. And then natural flow of the elements, so like water is flowing, like the air is flowing like water, and these things are very beautiful to imagine, to watch, to look at, and to recreate. So I call my art the imagination of nature because yeah, it's the elements, it's they're mixing together like nature would imagine and paint when it would be a real artist. It would be a living artist.
And how do you see digital art evolving in the coming years? Uh, because it's a technology, it changes. Are there new parts of the technology you're excited about?
Well, this development is, of course, it's stunning, but it's also like make make me and many other artists also fear because of you maybe thought of it because of the rise of the AI, but because of it's everywhere and everyone can create art. You know, it's like it's difficult to still perform when you are creating without the AI because it's like when the photography came and all the artists like feared they would lose their jobs, but it sometimes it happens, sometimes not, but it's with the AI, so it's yeah, it's difficult. But of course, the technology developing also in other ways, like painting in Photoshop, is may maybe easier and works more fluent, and you have more possibilities and faster computers.
And how do you see AI affecting your work? Do you see it as a challenge?
So this is, as I told before, you see, it's kind of affecting me. So this is quite a concerning topic, and maybe I can break it a little down. So among all the advantages, like everyone can create professional looking art, and wow, you can create images within seconds, and it's a creativity boost, which makes it positive. But these have also big disadvantages because when we use AI, we lose the human in the art, so we lose the professionality, the masterfulness of original art, all of the artistic way that people had done before being able to create this art. So all of this is getting lost. So all of the now we have perfectly looking images, which are of course very beautiful, but they have like no soul, nothing inside them. So I see it as an artist. I see the difference. I hope many people see also the difference too. But it's so we're winning, and we're winning one thing and we're losing another thing with the AI. So this will also keep being a big topic in the artistic world. And I am really much affected by this because especially the landscape art, the fantastic landscapes, the AI can do really good. And this is one problem for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very challenging time, and I think a very challenging, era for artists generally. Um,
Hmm.
but let's talk more about your work and what you do. Um, your
Hmm.
work, from what I've seen, a lot of it visualizes natural elements transforming, fire into water, water into air.
Elements are like water is also in the air present. So like tiny water droplets and the physical laws, they are also everywhere. So each element can behave like another element, and I like to show their connection. So of course it's fantastic. Mostly these are fantastic worlds, but it's also a little scientific background. So I'm a little science nerd as well, and just maybe I want to understand these elements, and by wanting to understand them, I paint them because I'm not a scientist, but an artist, and maybe this is my way to try to understand it. And also, I want to like call people and say, "Hey, nature is very beautiful. Like, can you see it?"
Do you worry
When I do
we
this.
are getting disconnected from nature when you say that?
Yeah, this is what I also often think of. We kind of build for ourselves a closed human world where we can everything, fun and entertainment and consumption and everything, but this is not the real world. Actually, the real world is out there. So and this is also good to have a connection to remember. So I want to like people to remember that the outer world is also beautiful and actually worth to save. So I want to sensibilize. I want to sensibilize people for the topic of nature.
Right, right.
That it's here and it's super important that we know about it. That's super important if we appreciate its beauty, because this is maybe the key to find a way towards nature from our closed-in world.
How do you describe your creative process?
So mostly I have the composition when I start to paint. I have the composition already in my mind, and before I start painting, I like I've already shown, I make this tiny little sketches, and but then go straight into the digital and paint everything there. And sometimes I use references from the internet, or often or mostly I try to use my own photos. Yeah, mostly the result is also what I expected in the beginning. Sometimes, but it's never 200% like I imagined it, because it's like part of the process.
You have strong parallels between science and art, I think. You were saying before that you're a bit of a science nerd. Um,
Mhm.
how would you describe this connection that you see between science and art, and how does your scientific interest shape your creativity?
Well, I think both scientists and natural artists like me, or any other maybe, try to understand the world around us. And scientists use like methods like mathematics and physics, and the artists also try to understand it. But in lack of being able to do science, the artist just tries to recreate it on the paper or on screen, or you know when I paint, I feel this when I paint water, I feel like it's moving. The wave is moving when I painting it, and I try to understand how it breaks when I paint a wave from its beginning to it's forming its shape, and now and it's breaking. So it's maybe a similar process like a scientist, but in a very different way. The idea is the same. I mean, as a
Yeah,
when
yeah,
is trying to understand the world.
yeah, yeah. I can see the connection between the two there. Um, I also wanted to talk to you a bit about your activism and the kind of movements that some of your art either is about or falls into. For instance, your piece "Drill Baby Drill" draws a parallel between the politics of environmental disaster.
This kind of activism, which it's actually called artivism. I've also new to this term, but it exists. So activism and art is artivism, and this plays a very important role. Even before I knew this word, I feel like the world is no, the world is fucked. I don't know if you can say this, and the better for us or for our world we made ourselves, and the worse it's for the natural world. And now it's also already bad, but it is becoming worse decades later. So now it's still okay, but in further decades it becomes worse and worse, and it's painful to see. So I just feel the beauty of the world, and have a good feeling when I stand in front of a thriving ecosystem. Like I look down some hills and see the sea and everything, everywhere is life, and the ecosystem is working. So I have a very beautiful feeling about this. So I want to try to preserve this. And
Do you believe artists have this responsibility to be political, about the environmental crisis, or do you think that art can also be for this personal self-expression? How do you see those two?
there's a saying, the artist always paints himself or herself. So the personal expression is also what inside the artist. And when I paint art about environmental destruction, and this is also my personal expression because it's my personal pain which is being released. So, but activism is also a very, very important part of creating art. And there's another thing, like of Pablo Picasso. He said that art is not meant to hang on walls. It's made to be a weapon against the enemy. So every art should say something important, something strong, and maybe attack someone or some things which are not good.
I first came across your work in the context of the Solarpunk movement, and I think I saw some of your art related to that at the beginning. Um, so I was wondering, how do you see yourself in terms of this Solarpunk movement of artists, and is this part of how you see your art?
The solar punk cities which I made are actually becoming a bigger part of my work that I have expected, because painting nature is much easier than painting cities, so they're very complex and take very, very much of time. And because I also want to make also make a living from art, at least to a part or to a larger part, actually. This is too much in in time investment if I would do it for myself only. So this also all of these cities have been commissioned by some organizations or like communal actors who wanted to see their their city or their village, their community to transform into a sustainable state. And the important thing about it's maybe that I have studied landscape architecture and urban planning, so I'm kind of right guy for doing this. So when I do these things, I want to try to show this development, not a state of solar punk, so like it's all solar and punk. I want to create a realistic picture because I think this is what we need, not to paint the thousands of unrealistic, cartoon picture that everyone will say, so, oh wow, what is this? So this is not true. That it can never happen. But when you take a little bit of realism, well, then people would say, wow, it maybe can be actually real. And when they see this vision which can be realistic, maybe they feel themselves triggered to do something for it. So this is the realism part of this is very important. So, and I also supported creations of many other Solarpunk images, actually as a planner, not as an artist.
Okay.
So to add a touch of realism, to like say, no, wind turbines near the city center are maybe not a good idea. They look very Solarpunk. They look very utopian, and maybe they even look beautiful, or they fit inside this. But in a realistic way, it's like as it has more disadvantages than advantages. So people, don't do this.
Okay. Okay. So the realism makes it realistic for people to follow or believe in this idea of what a future could look like. Something like this.
Yes.
What do you hope people will take away from your art? An emotional reaction, a call to action, or something else entirely?
I think it's both. So, and for this Solarpunk or for the environmental art is, of course, a call to action is important, but before a call to action comes into action, there has to be an emotional reaction. So people have to say, wow, it's beautiful, or wow, I see the message. So this is the first step. The emotional reaction is the first step, and that's why I want to paint optically beautiful pictures.
Maybe something else that would be interesting to hear your thoughts of is what advice would you give to a young artist today? Someone just entering
Oh,
art.
oh, well, in times of all the AI stuff and everything, this is a hard path to reach some milestones. So if you really want to become not just a hobby artist, but kind of live from the art, this is a tough way. But yeah, you still can make it, sure. And it's for me also difficult. So I can only paint, but I'm not very good in like networking and find possibilities. And but maybe you're different. So when you're young, maybe try to invest time, get to know people, try to invest time into networking, to find a collective, to engage in groups, you know. So when you just make art for yourself, you maybe will become a really good painter. But when you don't reach and you don't have the community, you will not maybe reach enough people to sustain yourself as an artist. To yeah, so this is maybe it. So a community is to have a community is better than to have great art skills. This is what I have learned.
This makes a lot of sense. The people make all the difference. if people want to know more about your work or to follow your activities, where should they go or what should they look at?
They can look into my Instagram, aeroscape_art, or they can go to my art station.
I will put
Station.
all of these links below the video,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
people can.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't
Yeah.
have to tell the link, but I can just say you can go to my art station or to my Instagram and also to my DeviantArt. It's DeviantArt is not very important anymore, but Instagram is good. So I try to post weekly now. I don't have much time because I'm happy to have good art projects now, and also my webpage. So there's also some background and something about me and something about every of the artwork. So this has quite a lot of content. My aeroscape.de page. It's also in English.